So happy 21 days of happy. We appreciate everyone joining. Edwina and I appreciate it. It's fantastic. We've had some amazing just interviews with different pastors, authors, influencers, celebrities. It's been amazing. But today is a special day for me because I get an opportunity to interview my mom. And today's session is titled Generosity, the simple things or simple lessons you can learn from a mom. So I just got to tell you guys a quick story. I love my mom, like I'm sure everybody loves their mother, but she is literally the most generous person that I know. Since I was a kid, she's bought me from pinball machines to mopeds to clothes to money. She's just been super generous. Even now I have a family. My mother is always sending us gifts and basket and clothes and just pouring out her generosity. And not just me. I've seen my mother just give to her. She has come from a big family. So to her siblings, her nieces, her nephews, charity organizations. And the reason I thought we should interview my mom is I'm like, gosh, if we were able to be generous like my mom or like our moms, how different would the world be, especially during COVID-19? So again, it's so great to have you, Mom. I'm excited. Thank you for being on our Zoom session today. And I'm gonna just give it to you, Dories Dickerson, just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Kelvin, it is truly a pleasure to be a part of this Zoom's videotaping that you do, and I think it's beautiful. Haven't heard all of what you're going to do with this, but the little that you've been able to share is heartfelt. So again, I'm glad that you all are doing this. My name, of course, Dories. Cherry is my maiden name, Dickerson, my married name. I'm a native of Hamilton, North Carolina. I finished college in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I married in South Carolina, of course, my junior year in college. Once I finished college in '67, I came to Hampton to work, and I've been with the school system. I believe I started in the school system, I believe it was August of 1969. But going back a year, my greatest gift that I could ever receive was Kelvin. Kelvin was born October 17, 1968. Bundle of joy. He was many, many years ago, and he continues to be today. I've always told him he is the joy of my life. His family is the joy of my life. I'm from a large family. In my family, it included my parents, of course, and there were 11 children. I, the fifth from the oldest. My mother instilled so many wonderful values that I've tried to instill in Kelvin, my grandkids, and of course, others, friends' children that I might be in contact with. One thing that my mother was really, really firm about, and that was sharing. There were 9 girls in my family, 2 boys. But when one had, we all had. When one came in with, whether it was a treat, a toy, it was to be shared equally.
And I'm just chiming in. And you grew up pretty much in adjunct poverty. You were poor. I think
Yes, yes,
it was like 12, 13 people in a 4-room, 5-room house.
yes, yes. We really didn't have anything. We were poor, but what our mother instilled in us to have anything, you got to work at it and you got to work hard. You got to do your part. And in working hard, you learn to appreciate, I believe, things more. One thing, as I said, we didn't have a lot of money, material wealth, and all of that, but we had love. And it was evident when we were out in public, out among other people. We were known as the Cherry Girls. Of course, my brothers were the youngest in the family, but everybody could see the love that we shared. So those are things that my mother was really the strongest person I know, because she was like the head of the family. My father, of course, was there, but it seems that my mother was the one who really, really instilled the values that I'm proud of and that I've tried to pass on today. So that pretty much covers it, Kelvin. And I
No, that's
share all of my siblings. We are all still here today, and we range in age from 82, I believe, to 65.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, 65 to
82 to
82.
wow,
Yes,
80.
lost the youngest brother. You know, the word somewhere says the first shall be last and the last shall be first.
Right.
But he left a beautiful legacy with us, and we keep him alive today in our conversations. Of course, he's in our heart. We just love him dearly, and sometimes it's just like he's right here talking to me.
Yeah.
Recently, April 23rd, we all got together by way of telephone, to honor his memory. He's been gone 8 years, gone but not forgotten. And we look forward to rejoicing with him one day in heaven.
No, that's amazing. So yeah, no, it's yeah, and I've heard these stories many times, and yeah, it's just amazing. So do you feel like, hey, coming from such a large family and not having much and what have you, is your mother who really taught you generosity and about giving? Do you feel like she kind of instilled that in you?
Yes, Kelvin, I have to give my mother credit for that, because I can recall my mother coming in with we might call it like a pan-sized cinnamon roll or cinnamon bun, but I can remember her clearly cutting it in many small pieces, distributing it among us. And it was done with love. It was done, you could see it, you could feel it. And you know, as a little child sitting there looking, no matter what you have, you can share it with somebody, because whatever you have, who did it come from? Who did
Yeah.
it come from? Who is our source?
Ye- ye-
Everything we have is from the Lord. And of course, my mother was a praying woman. She was faithful about church. It's different today, of course, because back then, I call it the olden days now. We went to Sunday school pretty much every Sunday, but we had one Sunday in the month wherein it seems like everybody in the neighborhood or the community in the area showed up at church. And it was wonderful. It was just a good old country service, and everybody enjoyed. The children, of course. And it was long, but we enjoyed, because at church we got to see friends, we got to participate sometimes in different activities at church. But here again, it was a time to be with family, because we all were there.
right. Right. It's interesting just making that comparison where you guys didn't have much when you were little, and I love the cinnamon roll analogy because I'm hungry now. I could, yeah, I could, that's definitely making me salivate a little bit. But I live in LA and Beverly Hills, and people have so much. I mean, big houses, cars, and all of that, right? But sometimes I kind of feel like it's it's that fear that we're going to lose it, so that I can't give. I'm not able to give because I may lose it. But here, you guys had nothing, but you're still sharing, right? So I mean, I just I think that's interesting. That it's just a shift of perspective, if that makes sense.
Yes, but Kevin, as I listen to you, um, I really think you just have to keep the right focus. You said, in LA you have a big house and having the fear of losing it. Don't lose your focus. How did you get it in the first place? Who was your source? To me, that's confirmation. You've been blessed with this big house. Surely you're going to be blessed with more houses, maybe a house larger than that. Don't forget who your source is. I'm a firm believer. If you do your part, Kelvin, but I'll go back a bit. Keep your hand in God's hand. Keep your hand in God's hand and pray. Do your part. Work with what the Lord has blessed you with. He's given us all hands, a mind. Uh, we know how to use these hands. So just do your part to accomplish, to be successful, or to achieve more material wealth than what you already have. But in doing it all, don't lose focus. And by all means, keep God first. Keep God first. Sometimes I believe little things happen in life that are simply a test of your faith. And I'm a strong believer. And I believe you are too. So I would encourage you to just stay focused and don't lose sight of all that God has already done, because there's more to come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was yeah, I've read different articles on generosity, and saying, hey, if you look at third world countries, and I know you give a lot to not just your family and friends, but organizations, churches. You have a litany of charitable organizations you give to. But I was reading somewhere where there's there's an ample amount of resources in the world to feed, to give provision for everyone, but there's not an ample amount of giving, right? So it's like, listening to you, it's like, hey, if we can have that, if everyone could really take that attitude. I heard someone say, you can't outgive God in giving. If everyone can take that attitude and increase their giving just a little bit more, we really can change the world.
Yes, yes, I do believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
because as you were, I was thinking, I believe it comes from 2 Corinthians. I believe the scripture is chapter 9, not sure what verse, but God loves a cheerful giver.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm.
And I truly feel, Kelvin, God is constantly giving us, even right now. Even during this interview, we're being blessed by God's favor.
Yeah.
So whatever you give in some way, it might not only benefit the receiver, but for me, it benefits the giver as well.
Yeah.
Because Kelvin,
We'll
first of all,
we'll talk about that a little bit. That you kind of preempted a question I had. Like in you giving and you being such a cheerful giver and abundant giver, how have you seen it enrich your life?
well, Kelvin, for me, first of all, giving is love. It's love. And when I give, I love the joy and happiness that I experience from that. Not only that, sometimes I can recall instances wherein just I know I unexpectedly surprised somebody and gave them a monetary token. I could see the face light up. I even experienced this once from a person. The person came running to me, put her arms around my neck, and told me, thank you, thank you, thank you. I needed this. And from that experience, I truly felt at that moment, God blessed me to be a blessing. I believe God uses different things, different people to meet other people's needs. So that particular day, as I recall, I believe I met a financial need by sharing a token that the Lord had blessed me with.
Mm.
And it's a feeling of, it's rewarding. It's just, as I said, it's joy, it's happiness, it's a feeling of worth. You're just doing something that you know is the right thing. And I realize, Kelvin, giving is not always in the form of money. Giving comes, or being generous comes in different forms. You can be generous with your time, generous with your talents. And when I say time, right now, the church that I'm a part of, we are all senior citizens. We range in age from 70 to 94. Many of them need someone to just go to the grocery store for them. I have done that. Many of them just need someone to call and say, I care. I think some of them, from my experience, they are lonely. Some of them have lost loved ones, their spouse, their children, and a telephone call sometimes just to say, I care. Something else that I have done, members in my church, take them for a doctor's appointment. And after we left the doctor, stop them by one of the fast food restaurants to get maybe a hamburger and french fries. I could see the joy on their face that somebody thinks enough of me to do this. Time. If you're in a neighborhood, what's wrong with putting somebody's trash containers out front? After the trash is picked up, what's wrong with pulling the containers back to the designated place? Those things don't cost any money. But whether you know it or not, you're probably doing something for someone that's really in need. Not only that, talent. And some people might say, how can I give my talent? Do you know during this time right now that we're experiencing, a friend of mine is actually putting a song on email. So if you have use of a computer, all you got to do is go on the email and just listen. She has a beautiful voice. She sings beautifully. But each week, she's sharing her talent with others. And as going back to money, for me, It's just giving with a willing heart. And when I give a monetary token, I never even think about it, or I never even keep count of it. It's just a natural thing. And it's joy for me because I know the receiver is so grateful. So I just feel like we need to demonstrate what I believe. Christians, don't we all want to be like Jesus, walk like Jesus, love like Jesus?
Yeah.
Giving is love.
Yeah.
It's love.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving is love. No, that's great. That's really impactful. And scripture says it's better to give than to receive. And listening to you, it really sounds like that's been the case in your life.
Yes, and Kelvin, I think I don't believe it's hard to accept, especially when you see it's backed up with love. But I do believe sometimes it might be hard to receive. And when I say that, maybe that could have to do with some personal situation that's going on in a person's life. But I do believe sometimes there are some who might have problems accepting or receiving what's being given to them. And I don't know, but that's just a personal feeling. I don't know whether it has to do with someone's upbringing or what.
Yeah.
But
But that's good. But I was doing another interview in I call it my happy panel. We were interviewing people who are just have a really happy perspective, point of view on life. And one of the things that really came up, I asked, hey, what's the key to happiness? What's the secret sauce to happiness? And they were saying, hey, just not focusing on myself and focusing outward, thinking about others, helping others. And that seems to be what you're saying is, yeah, just not, we can get, I guess my point is we can get so caught up and focused on what we have and what's going on in our lives and what's right, what's not right, that we start to forget about the needs around us, of our community, of our nation. But that seems to be really the key to happiness, and generosity, is like, just stop focusing on yourself so much. If you focus on other people and focus on where you can help other people, in a way, it just has a way of everybody gets blessed by that.
son, well said. I agree with that 100%. Don't focus on yourself. Just use that time to see, what can I do for someone else? Words of encouragement. Maybe something you might consider small in your eyesight, but that might just be the thing that's needed. Focus on someone else. Don't dwell on your situation, but give that focus and attention to someone else. And you'll be amazed. That's a rewarding situation for you and the others.
Mm. Well, and not that you have all the answers, but just from a mom's perspective, again, I read a lot of statistics, research, and I that pretty much only half of the American population gives. Ironically, the middle class gives more than the wealthy. Or if you look in churches, only 20% of churches, the congregation actually gives, right? So I guess my question to you, or I pontificate some, why don't we why don't we give more? Why don't more people give to the church, give the organizations? What do you think is happening?
Well, Kelvin, I truly believe it's fear. I think it's fear of losing everything. So they tend to hold on. And at once upon a time, maybe fear crept into my mind about some things. But as I continue to read and study the word, I quickly realized fear is not of God.
Mm-hmm.
And with my constant reading, I overcame that. And I would encourage, I don't know where people are in their spiritual growth, but I would encourage, spend time with the Lord, read. The Lord speaks to us through reading of the word. He speaks to us in many ways. But I believe for me, my whole attitude changed about so many things in life because I heard God when I read the word.
Yeah.
I hear him now when I read the word. And to end what we just said, Kelvin, I feel confident everything that I have, the Lord blessed me. It came from the Lord. He is my source. And he is going to continue to provide me with maybe things I don't want. It's understood my needs are met. And I pray that everyone's needs are met. But don't lose sight of whatever you have. It came from the Lord. So let go of fear and just trust. Ask the Lord to give you stronger faith so that you will learn to trust. It takes time, but trust me, I'm a living example. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have my Bible, I didn't have a relationship with the Lord. All is well with me because I'm right with the Lord.
Yeah. No, that's well said. Forgive me, I guess somebody is calling me, but the ring the ring will go away. So what do you say? And I've totally been there, been in points in my life when I was at a low, and I'm really thinking about COVID-19 and people who are unemployed or just really facing hardship right now. Where they say, "Hey, mom," they won't say mom, but "Hey, Doris," or I just don't have anything to give right now. And are you is that your remedy? Hey, I should give. I don't have anything to give. I don't even know how I'm gonna make it through tomorrow, or how I'm gonna pay my mortgage or rent at the end of the month. Like, I don't know. I'm just is generosity still the remedy, or would you? I'm just curious.
Well, Kelvin, the situation today is really painful. And my heart goes out because I know people are struggling in so many areas. Work, loss of income, food, just loss of contact with people. People are really struggling. But I still would say, as I said, just try to keep the right focus. Again, do all you can do, whatever it is, small, whatever it is you can do. Use your hands, your mind, your body to do what you can do. Even if you have to make some telephone calls to do some things that you normally wouldn't do. Ask for an extension, maybe with your mortgage, your car payment. What's wrong with someone calling someone, asking for a temporary loan. Just put pride aside. Don't go and silence suffering, because you never know. To make that call, you could just connect with the right person who's there to supply more than what you ever asked. So you got to do all that you can. And again, ask the Lord to show me what can I do. But try to keep a positive attitude and try to surround yourself with positive people who are going to continue to lift you up. You've just got to believe and feel in your heart, in your spirit. This is going to pass. We just don't know when. But until it does, the Lord some way is going to supply our needs. I've seen on TV where some places are giving boxes of food, and I know it's a need. I see workers in the hospitals who are trying to provide some comfort for those who are sick. They're unallowed to see family members. So I just do believe the Lord has got people in place, even if you feel you hit rock bottom, who in some way can supply some of what you need. I'll just end with Kelvin. It might not seem that way, but God is the source. He's going to use different people, different organizations, people who are in higher positions. He's going to continue to use them in a way so that we will all benefit. Now, I'm not going to say it might not be any suffering. It will be. But once we get through it, you will have a greater appreciation, because you will see what the Lord, how he brought you and how we continue to survive.
Yeah, no, that's good. As you're talking, it kind of brings up in me. There was a time in New York, I went through a period where just things were rough. I think I wasn't working, and just money was tight, or what have you. But I joined this men's organization at church. But the one thing I had, for whatever reason, I was blessed. I had a big apartment. I don't know how I got that. I paid cheap rent. So we would have men's studies and Bible studies at my house. But that's all I have. Didn't have money, didn't have whatever, but I would say, hey, you guys could have Bible studies at my house. But they used to do potlucks where men would bring food and all of that. And I was amazed by how much food, because I didn't have money. I was amazed at how much food came into my house. And after they left, it was just food everywhere. So that just showed me, to your point, like, hey, I don't have much, but what I have, it was a blessing. But if I kind of I use a clenched fist analogy. But if I just let go of what and give what I have, then the other things that I need will come to me. Yes.
Well, Calvin, I agree with that too. It seems everything that I give comes back to me in greater form. Right. So I just truly believe what the Lord blessed me, he's watching how you're going to use it. What are you going to do with it? And what he continues to bless me with, I want the way that I use it to be pleasing in his sight. It's all from him.
Yeah.
It's all from him.
I'll just,
they had all that food. I just feel like blessed to be a blessing. I saw in that situation, you as well as all of it, blessed to be a blessing.
And I think is really generosity. I like what you said. Generosity is love.
It is.
When, yeah, and really loving, and that's something we can practice. Loving your family, loving your neighbor, loving your community. Like if you love, you'll be generous. And I think of just a couple of occasions when I've had friends come to my house when I was living with you and Dad, and they were overwhelmed by the amount of generosity that you bestowed on them, to the point like friends have literally afterwards I've seen them cry real tears, uh, just just on how generous, and they had never seen generosity like that. And the same with my wife, Edwina. Like she says that all the time. Like, your mother is so generous. I've never seen generosity like that. And to think of like generosity can have that type of effect on people, where to bring them to tears, right? That's really powerful. And listening, that's really powerful. And then listening to you, we all possess that. We
Yes.
we all can tap it into that if we so choose.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I really think everyone can, Kelvin, but everyone doesn't.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, moving forward, uh, hopefully, I believe with COVID-19 and beyond, good things are going to come from this, and hopefully we will change, and I'm believing we will be more generous to our neighbors and community and what have you. So
A true, giving, generous heart never keeps track of costs.
yeah. So
And son, it has been a pure delight. Yes. And
yeah,
thank you much for including your mother.
well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching us today. I hope you were blessed by it. 21 Days of Happy, generosity, the simple lessons from a mom. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you tomorrow.